My name is Saisha Dash and I study in grade 5 BIS Thane. I've read Mr. Giridhar Pai's book, My Life in a Pandemic, and today we are going to know more about it by talking with him. Good morning, Mr. Pai.
Good morning, Saisha.
I have a few questions to ask.
Yes, please go ahead.
My first question is, why did you choose to write in My Life in a Pandemic over coronavirus?
Saisha, you would have read in the book already
Yeah.
how the book came about. So the book started in the month of July when I started keeping a journal, and each day of the journal I called it my Corona Diary. And I asked a few friends to volunteer to read it, and every day I would share it by WhatsApp with 37 people. So, on the completion of 100 days of this diary, we compiled it as a book and we called it My Corona Diary. I sent across this diary to my publisher, Notion Press of Chennai, and they were in the process of publishing it. When they learned from Amazon that Amazon wouldn't allow the use of the words Corona or COVID or lockdown anywhere in the title of the book or anywhere on the cover or the back pages of the book. So we had to go back to the drawing board and coin a new name. And we thought that because this book was about the COVID-19 pandemic, we should use the word pandemic in the title. And that's how we came up with the name My Life in a Pandemic.
My second question, what were a few funny moments you experienced while you were writing the book?
The most funny issue I faced with this book was relating to the chapters. Firstly, when I switched over from writing the diary in the morning and sharing it in the morning, what I found is there were two entries on one day, and I had wrongly numbered the days on those. And alert readers, a couple of them showed it to me, and then I corrected those days. After that, we had 100 days of the diary, and I compiled those as a manuscript, and I shared those with my publisher, Notion Press. And soon after, a pre-publishing check, and we found that some chapter numbers were missing. So I took the manuscript and I corrected those. But when I received the manuscript after the first round of editing, I found that there still were errors. There were missing chapter numbers, and there were also chronological errors, which I corrected. And finally, when readers like you get the book, we now have all 110 chapters in order.
Any lessons you learned while you were writing the book?
The two lessons I learned was if people perceive they have time, they will do something that they want to. And I've written about it in the book also, which is when I initially sent out my Corona Diary entries over WhatsApp, people would read it and respond to it because they believed they had time. But as we progressed into the pandemic and the unlockdown phases, although people were receiving the entries, fewer people were responding to it. So that's an important lesson I learned from writing the book and sharing it with people. The second lesson was about how long it takes to publish a book. My first book, Life at Urbania, took me about 3 months, whereas I expected to complete this book in lesser time. So I thought that after sending out the manuscript in November, I could have the book ready by Christmas. Whereas we found that a good book takes time to make, just like the sign in a restaurant I saw in my university days, which said, good food takes time to cook, have patience. So I'm patiently waiting for my book to come out in February of 2021.
Now, how was your interview with Posse?
The interview was over about 40 minutes, and it taught me a lot of things. For example, I never knew that when you are on a Zoom call and part of an interview, you need a mic. On the other side, where Foster was sitting, I could see that he was sitting in a studio-like setting.
Oh.
So if I have to do any interviews in future, I may have to equip myself with that kind of setting. Apart from that, we shot a long interview, and part of it came out as the YouTube video, and the remaining part of it will come as a radio podcast.
Oh, that's quite interesting.
Yes.
When did you think you wanted to write the book?
I first thought about this book when I conducted a webinar in April during the lockdown. So I invited people, and I was suggesting to them how to keep a Corona diary, something to document their pandemic memories. So it started in April, and then in July, I found that I had more time because we had the Thane Municipal Corporation's total shutdown. For 12 days, we were to be at home, and that gave me more time, and that's when I started my 100-day My Corona Diary project. So these were the two phases which propelled the book.
Was there a sole inspiration for your book?
There was no person who inspired this book, but the inspiration was this idea that in 2020 we had a time when the whole world suffered from the COVID-19 pandemic, and future generations would want to go back and see what happened. So this is a common person's account of this period. So that was the inspiration. I want people to read the book and understand what happened in my life and probably in the lives of others. And I also want the readers to perhaps contemplate making their own version of my Corona diary.
What are your thoughts on being an author, writer?
I like to write about things that nobody else writes about, and I like readers to read the book as I make it. So what I do is I create content and share it with the readers even as I'm writing, and then using their feedback, compile that into a book. So I've done that with both my books. So in the first book, which is Life at Albania, I used to write a newsletter every week, and then at the end of 1 year, I compiled it into a book, and I called it Life at Albania, which is about a township where I live. And as far as the My Corona Diary goes, it came from a 100-day project where I shared my Corona Diary entries with 37 people. And at the end of 100 days, we compiled it into a book. The second thing I like to do is have a theme around which I can write, because there are a lot of subjects which interest me. And by having a theme, I'm able to share thoughts with my readers about that theme. Thank you, Saisha, for spending time this morning with me, and I'm happy to meet the reader of My Life in a Pandemic. The book will be out in February 2021, and I'll be happy to share a copy of it with you.
Thank you.